An official welcome. Thank you for joining us today for another, or maybe I better say, for the first of the season, Memories of Plymouth program, one of the initiatives from the Plymouth Historical Society. 4 years ago, we started this program where we brought in, I'll use the word elders, those people in their 80s, 90s, 100 and 100 plus, to come in and share their stories, their memories of the town of Plymouth. For some of these people, they're a true townie. I'm not sure what that means anymore, but that's what we're going to call the one that we have here today, a true townie. Some of the folks were born here, worked here, socialized in Plymouth or the surrounding areas. So we're welcoming you. We're a tad late. It is August 2020, and we typically start in late March or early April, but because of the coronavirus, we've had to slow things down a little bit. But I am delighted to be here, and I'd like to introduce, if I can, our interviewee, Richard Mardin. And I hope he's on. Are you on? Yes, we are.
Yes.
We're not going to shake hands today. We thought about a bump. We're just going to say hello to each other.
Hi.
We have a series of questions that we're going to ask you today, Dick. Some about your family, your occupation, your business, stories that you have shared over your lifetime, and now we're asking you to share them with a larger audience. But the first ones are easy, I hope. What is your full official name?
Richard E. Mardin.
And what does E stand for?
Elwin.
Elwin.
That's after my grandfather.
After your grandfather. All right. And you had siblings in your family?
Yes.
And names?
All right. I have Eleanor, Debbie. I had Rebecca and Richard.
Richard and Richard.
Two of them are missing. So.
All right. All right. And you are married?
Yes.
Uh-huh. We can even say her name if you want.
Oh, I can say Edith. Yes, I can. Yes.
Because otherwise, if she's walking, we're watching, she might get a little bit. She might get a little bit upset.
Yeah.
Your father and grandfather, what occupations were they in?
Well, they was in numerous ones. My grandfather was more of a mechanic than anything. He worked for Wilders here in town.
I've heard of Wilders.
Yeah, well, it's down where the bank is.
All right. Mm-hmm.
On Main Street. Another one he worked for was up next to the high school, was a garage up there. I can't remember the name, but
I remember the garage for years and years.
yeah, he worked up there as a mechanic.
Okay.
Originally, I guess he came from Lisbon area.
Ended up in
ended up down this way.
Mm-hmm.
One winter, he worked for the railroad as a fireman up in, when the train used to go up to, not Lebanon, but...
Did it go to Littleton?
No, the other way.
Okay. We had two sets of trains. One would be going up to Thornton. It would go up to Rumney, Warren, and Wentworth.
Go further than that. He was up there. He'd fire the boilers at night to keep the boiler on.
Wow. Was it the Boston, Maine?
Yes.
Or was it the Boston, Maine, Montreal?
No, Boston and Maine.
Boston and Maine.
Yeah.
Interesting. How long ago was that?
Oh, that was a long time ago.
All right.
I don't know the exact time, but
I'm just trying to think when the last trains came through here, and I want to say it was in the 60s, and I could be wrong on that without checking.
yeah, but that line up there had been torn up before then.
Before
so,
that. You're educated in Plymouth area?
Yeah.
Can we go back to elementary school?
Yeah, I went 8 years to Livermore in Campton.
Mm-hmm.
And then I came to Plymouth for the next 4 years.
All right, so I'll make an assumption you were born in Campton because you went to the Livermore School.
No, I lived in Campton.
Lived in Campton.
I lived in Campton.
Right.
I can't tell you which side of the hospital I was born in, whether it was the Campton side or the Plymouth side.
That's a story
But
in
that's,
itself. That's right. You had a choice. From what we understand, some people were asked if you would, to the parents, if they would like to be, the children would be born in one side or the other, and they would actually move you to that side. So you don't know that.
I don't know that. No.
All right.
Everybody's gone. They can't tell me that anymore.
That's why we want to collect these memories, so we do know.
Right. Yeah.
So elementary school, one more time, you went to the Livermore School.
Yeah.
One-room schoolhouse.
One room, yeah, all
Can-
8 grades.
And can you remember any of the teachers that you had?
I had Mrs. Mildred Avery for 8 years.
Wow. Wow.
We had some of your relation, Najla Shmaha,
All right.
now I don't know whether she came as, we had other women that would come in to learn to teach.
So there could have been student
It
teachers,
could have been student
interns?
teachers, and there was a Mrs. Peasley out of Warren that came.
Interesting.
Other than that, I was with Mrs. Avery.
If I said to you, all of those years at the Livermore School, what was memorable? What do you remember about your time? Be it a person, a friend, what you learned? Were you?
Well, we learned the same thing 8 times.
I was just going to ask if it was a multi-class grouping. How did she do this?
Well, each, depending on the class that came forward, all the little ones, because they sat up front, and as you got higher in the thing, like the 8th grade, you sat way up back. But you heard that same thing 8 times.
Oh my gosh.
So, yeah, by the time we got ready to do something, we could remember a lot of the stuff that everybody else was doing.
Repetition, repetition, repetition.
That's right. Yeah.
Interesting. So from there we go to the high school.
Yeah.
Are you still living in Campton when you went
Yes.
to Plymouth High School?
Yes. And that was a wide awakening, because we came out of a 1-room school and we came into one that had 34 rooms. So we was just about, we didn't know nothing. Honest. We didn't know that we had to go to the 3rd floor. We had to, our room happened to be with Mrs. Fraser, up room 32, and that's on the 3rd floor. Well, we had never been in the school other than when Mr.
So there was-
Zulius brought us down to.
So there was little to none orientation for you coming from a small school to what this was going to be like.
Yeah,
Interesting.
yeah, and we had a choice of what kind of a class we wanted to take. We had no idea what kind of a class we wanted. So my brother and I happened to be in the same class because he stayed back here. So we took the general course, and it was okay.
It was okay.
Yeah, I mean, you had to be there a long time before you realized. Then we had to have gym, and the gym wasn't in the same building. It had to go down
Spear.
across the, yeah.
Oh, you went across the river, or did you go
No,
to
no,
Spear?
we went down to the one down
Next
over the
door.
hill. Yeah,
Spear.
yeah.
Yeah.
Had to get down there.
That's correct. That's
Yeah.
correct.
We didn't care for that, but that's because we didn't have that in the 8th grade. I mean, our 8th grade, we didn't have nothing like that.
Did you have music or art class when you were in 8th grade, 7th grade, 6th grade?
We,
Uh-oh.
coming from Campton, the teacher could play the piano, right? And all the rest of us had bobbins and a block of wood.
Excuse me. A bobbin and a
A
block
bobbin
of
and a
wood.
block of wood, and we just bang, 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 banged on
The
them.
rhythm?
Yes. Some of us tried the little flute things.
Okay.
Yeah.
So everything
A
was...
few of us, we took some music lessons with a guy that couldn't teach music that came out of,
Then I'm not asking you his name.
no, okay, I won't tell you. Came out of Romney, because some of us had guitars and we wanted to learn to play. Well, the guy couldn't teach us. He couldn't even tune the guitar. So that didn't last long. And we gave that up.
You talked about Mr. Zulius. He's the principal of the high school.
Yes.
And when were you in high school? You were born when?
40,
In 1940, so 19...
54 to 58.
And so Mr. Zulius had been there for a few years, I think. I'm trying to did you ever have anyone before Mr. Zulius,
No,
the previous principal?
no,
All right.
no, Mr. Zolis is the
Okay.
one we got here.
Interesting. And how did you get to school?
Well, to begin with, we walked.
How many miles?
Oh, it's about, 4 or 5 miles. But we was able to use the old Livermore Falls Bridge. It cut off a mile by going over and coming down Route 3.
Wow.
And then we done that for a while, and then we was able to get a ride with Larry Downing out of Thornton.
I don't know Larry Dunn, but I think I know his children.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah, well, he was wild. We'd come to school pretty fast.
He had a lead foot.
Yeah.
Is that
Well,
what they
yes,
say?
and he got in trouble once. He was up by Toby's Motor Court, and he passed the bus on the wrong side when the kids were getting on and off. So that ended us riding with him. So he's back to walking again. And then when I turned 15,
Yeah.
I bought my first car.
15 years old, you could do that then?
Yeah, well, I could buy it.
You
I
couldn't
could buy
drive it?
I couldn't drive it. And the guy I bought it from drove it to the house because he was running it every day. It was a 1931 Model A coupe. And my mother gave me $1. That's all I needed was $40. She gave me $1 to finish paying for that car.
Wow. And then you started to drive to school, and there was a place for you to park.
Yes, out behind the school, there was a place. It was before they built the new art building. And,
There was a VOTEC area, vocational
yeah,
center.
there was no building. There was a parking lot.
All right, you're taking me back before my time.
Yeah.
All right.
So we was able to park out back, and that's what we got back and forth schooling.
You talked about Mrs. Frazier, and I think the name is going to resonate with our audience. Are there other teachers that you can come up with their names?
Agnes Riley.
Agnes Riley. I had Agnes Riley.
Yeah.
It might have
we
been
had
her
Effie
first
Muchmore.
position. Who was that one?
Effie Muchmore. What was her name? It was, oh my Lord.
Do you know what she taught?
Yeah, English.
English.
Yeah.
English. All right. All right.
Yeah.
And then at that time, this is
Her
my
name was
interest.
different, but I can't remember.
When we were there, when we had physical education, sometimes we went down across the river into Holderness, and we used the D&M Park. Did you ever use that?
I never was into sports.
Okay. And this is for physical education class,
No,
gym
no.
class, gym class.
The only thing we done badminton and stuff like that, but we done it in a
In there,
gymnasium.
yeah, I remember
Yeah.
us running across the river, and that was all in this time confinement. You'd run down, run back, and you'd have a class there. But they didn't do it then. That's,
No.
Oh, that's
No,
fun.
we didn't
That's
do
fun.
that.
All right. Let's see now. So, oh, I have down in my notes Mr. Goulart.
Oh yeah, Mr. Goulat was a shop teacher.
So we had
Yeah.
shop then.
Yes.
VOTEC.
Yeah.
Goodness.
We really got along good there. We done a lot of stuff there. I was kind of mechanically inclined and could do a lot of woodwork, and we done a lot of projects for other people. We made the hope chests and different things, and I remember they used to put them in Volpe's window.
And sold them?
After we done them. I'm not sure whether they sold them or they were just there for a show.
Show and tell. But you didn't take them home.
No, it was for somebody else.
Okay.
Yeah.
Oh, interesting. That's the first time I've ever heard of that. That's wonderful.
Yeah.
That's wonderful. All
No,
right.
we got along really good there.
Okay. I'm going to switch just a little bit if I can.
Mm-hmm.
Some of the occupations that you had, even when you were young, when you were a teenager, could we start off maybe, what was the first job that you can remember?
I was lawn care boy for the White Duck Cabins.
Oh my gosh. How old?
I must have been 14, 15,
14,
somewhere
15.
now. I couldn't drive. I was on a bicycle, so I'd go back and forth. And
Did you drive to Minnie Kello's, the tie doll?
yes.
And you worked there when?
Well, I was in high school and had a license when I started at Tony's Title.
Okay. Let's see. That's what I had him down there, and I'm trying to remember who took over. Did Mr. Jocks, did Donnie Jocks take over when, did he purchase the gasoline
Seemed
station?
though Donnie was there for a while.
Yeah, I can't remember if there's somebody in between. So we had Mr.
Yeah.
Minicello, and then we had Donnie Jocks. I love the layering. Who was here when? That's fun.
No, see, I was out of there then, so I only worked there long enough. Well, I worked there one winter
All right.
because I was in school, and then things was tough back then. And Tony's daughter had married Garland, and he needed a job. So I lost my job, and for maybe a week or so, then I went to work at the First National Stores.
Oh, all right. So First National is next. And where was the First National at that time?
Was right on Main Street, right, almost where you cross the walk.
So by the Common.
Yes.
I'm going to say by the Common because some of us are going to remember that They're going to move later. So right
That's
now
right.
you're
No,
by
this
the
is
Commons.
before they moved. This was, yeah. But I cannot remember the manager's name. But Bobby Elliott was second in charge.
Who ends up owning,
Yeah, the one in Ashland. Now.
right? The Surefine that's in
Yeah,
Ashland.
Surefine,
Surefine that's in
yes.
Ashland. Interesting.
Yeah.
Let me see if my notes can share me too. Let's see. Sonny Jocks,
Yeah, Sonny Jocks was downstairs. He was taking care of the produce.
produce. Okay. Okay.
Yeah.
And how close was that to Adams's Market?
Within 2 stores.
Okay.
It was
So we had-
close. I can't remember quite what was in
So
between.
we had 2 major grocery stores right on the main street.
Yes.
Yes, we did. All
Yeah.
right. Oh, that's neat. That's neat. I have, this is from notes that we had before, some of the cashiers. This
Oh
is,
yeah, and Mary Finan was one of them, and Florence McLeod. And I can't remember the other one. There was 3 of them there. And back then it was, you punched the numbers in, yanked the lever, you know. And I was actually stock boy, but on Friday nights, I carried groceries out. We delivered groceries to the cars out front or down back, or wherever they'd say, my car's down back. They never locked anything. So you take them down and put them in the car and hope you get the right one. I done it once. A woman come tearing in, where's my groceries? I put them in your car. It was the wrong car. It was Mrs. Ireland from West Plymouth.
yes, yes.
I caught the car as he was going out of the driveway down there. But I mean, you know, it was more open back then.
We trusted people.
Yeah, I think that's it.
Yeah, yeah, I think we did. So you've graduated now from high school. Where do you go?
Yeah. Well, it took me 2 days and I left. I moved to Keene because I had a girlfriend and she was going to Keene to watch the little kids for her brother. So I got down there and within a week, let's see, the first thing I done down there, I worked at the First National Store down in Keene.
Wow.
And that was on the upper end of the Common. And I didn't work there too awful long, maybe a couple of months or so. And then I went to work for what they call Paco Homes. They built homes.
Oh, contractor.
In Paco Park. And they had bought a great big strip of land in the west end of Keene.
Wow.
And they was just starting that up, and I was able to get in on that. Being mechanically inclined, the guy that run the bulldozers and stuff, I ended up helping him repair the dozer, keep the dozer running. And when he wasn't there, I'd run the dozer. And
Wow.
doing different things.
And how old were you then?
I was 19 maybe. Yeah, I was young.
And you stayed in Keene how long?
I stayed all that. Oh, I lived in Keene for a while. I had got married. And then that didn't work out staying there, so we moved to Leominster, which was 20 miles north, in her folks' farm. It was there. And I would drive back and forth, and I'd pick her brother up out of Marlow and take him to work, because we both worked in the same place, with my Model A. I still was riding the Model A.
Whoa, that's another story we'll tell later. Model A's.
So we got that. But I stayed down there a couple of years.
That's a large change from a small little town as we were, and then all of a sudden you're going to Keene, which is considered to be quite the city.
Yes, there was a lot more, of course, naturally a lot more cars, a lot more people and stuff.
Sure.
I got along really good with all of the guys that worked there. They had carpenters, the plumbers, electricians, the painters. It was a whole crew that they had of their own
Your
to build these houses.
Your skill set is really growing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I was able to help them guys out.
Yeah. And then you come back here.
Yeah, then I moved back up here. I lived in a little camp behind my folks' place. And I had applied for a job at Beebe River. My dad and I both applied for a job at Beebe River. And so one day, Sam Hall come knocking on my door.
Sam Hall, is he
Sam
the
Hall.
gentleman that owned Tenny Mountain
Yes.
ski area?
Yes. He also was a manager of Beebe River.
Okay.
So he came up and wanted to know if I wanted a job. And I said, yes. And he said, well, you report to 4 o'clock and see Roy McNeil up on the 2nd floor of the brick building. Of course, that was all new to me. I'd never been in the mill before. So of course I did. It was a second shift. What are you going to do? You got to work.
Second shift is from when to when?
It was 4 to midnight or something like 4 to 11. Mm-hmm. So I showed up and, yeah, there's all these machines, and your job is to put bobbins into these things. I had 13 machines that you had to go along and put bobbins in. Okay, I can do that, I guess. Well, it took a while because it's not as simple as you think. You know, you got little slots, and you grab a handful of these, you go down in it. And if they fall out, the drills are coming around the other side, and if the bobbin doesn't come up in amongst the thing and it's held tight, it'll break the drill. So that did happen a few times, but
They didn't can you?
no, everybody done it. No, and you didn't reach in and do anything neither. The guy came along, another guy would come along and shut it off and fix it, and then you would go along.
Again.
And so they put the baskets of bobbins up for you, and all you had to do was take them out and put it in that thing. But you had this row of 13 of them that you had to take care of.
Wow.
And so I done that for a long time. Right opposite there, in the front of the building, was a place where they cadmium plated the rings. It was a kind of a wet place and stinky. Mm-hmm. And Donnie Mills was the boss in there. And that was daytime, and sometimes he'd be there late at night doing things. And I got to be able to talk to him, and finally I shifted jobs, and I got into the plating room. So I was running the plating room. After a while, he was gone. I was running the plating room, plating all these rings, and taking care of that. And then you'd have to go way out into the ring room with the ones and bring them back in after they had heat treated them and sandblasted them, and then you'd do your plating and then box them up and take them upstairs, and they'd put them onto the bobbins.
I'm going to put you on the spot. How many, and you may not know the answer, how many employees would the BB River have?
300.
300?
Yes.
Oh. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
It was a busy place.
It was.
It was a big family place, put it that way.
That sounds fair, the name. And the little I know about it, and I'd love to know more, I've been given the history of it, but it was a town of its own.
We had the post office, had the store, had the gas pumps. Mm-hmm. Mail came there. A lot of people lived there. Mm-hmm. There was a lot of buildings there to live in. But yeah.
So from there, what happens? You end up being a mechanic?
Oh yeah, well from there, this guy came down from Maine, and they was putting in a new sawmill. Going to take the old sawmill out. Now, of course, we had all kinds of buildings. So we had one building, all they done was they either made the bobbin blanks or they sawed lumber. And kind of at that point, they used to make all the boxes to ship the bobbins out in wooden boxes.
Yeah.
And it was just starting to change over to go to cardboard boxes. They're about 3 foot square, and they'd hold 1 million bobbins or whatever was in them. Mm-hmm. And so, of course, I grew up in a sawmill. So I'd go over, and I couldn't help them put it together because I was in the plating room. But when I had my noon hour or whatever, I'd go over and watch them. And when it come time for them to start the thing up, Norm Smith was one of the sawyers, and this was an automatic electric mill. So I'd go over and I'd watch them guys and watch them, you know. And I said to Milton Brusso, he was in charge of maintenance, I said, I'd like to try that. Took a while, and finally they said, yeah, what you're going to do is you're going to go on to maintenance, and part of your maintenance job will be you go up and run the mill. And that was okay with me. So I went up and I learned how to run the saw carriage and stuff, and that run into a real good job. except you're sitting there 8 hours watching this thing go zing, 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 bing, bang, smash.
But you're in charge.
Yeah.
I'm correct. And you have so many people underneath you?
Well, not yet.
Okay.
Not yet. So as soon as we'd be making these 4-foot things in the bobbin blanks, and then the second shift came on. They were going to put a second shift on. Well, the second shift was going to saw lumber. No, wait a minute. We had 2 shifts of bobbins. We'll put the third shift on. All right, we was going to start 8 o'clock at night and work till 7 in the morning. Well, the other shift hadn't got done yet. So for 2 hours, I'd go up in the filing room and I'd file saws, board saws or whatever they had to do. I'd file saws. I'd come back down. By then, they'd be bringing the logs up. We'd shift valving all over, get it into the long logs, and saw lumber. Wow. And then it got so I could saw pretty good. So they'd bring in, during mud season, they'd bring the wood screw in out of the woods because it was muddy. And that was probably for a month anyways. So the wood screw would come in, and we had Walter Fernuziak and a couple of other guys, and we had a couple of guys out back sticking lumber. And I'd saw lumber all night. All the rest of the guys were sawing bobbin blanks, and I was actually sawing lumber. And we sawed a lot of lumber, and it was fun. Hmm. And then I was my own boss. They worked for me. Mm-hmm. And when that job ended, and you'd go back, well, there's no place for the third shift to go, so I went back and just went to the maintenance crew. And then we done everything. And then I'd gone over to Sam Hall, and I said, I'd like to get into the machine shop. Oh, he says, we've got enough farmer mechanics now. Mm-hmm. And so that was that. And I said, well, there's no need to push it on that. Well, this Milton Brusso, who was in charge of maintenance, says, I think you make a good machinist. So once in a while I'd sneak in and start learning things, right? Because being maintenance, we was in and out of the shop all the time. Because we was always using the hacksaw or the torches or whatever to keep the mill running, see? Mm-hmm. And it wasn't long that I didn't have to go there because I was in charge there.
Wow. Is this the right word for you? You're a hustler. Huh? Maybe it's the wrong word, but you're growing, you're learning all the time. You move to here, to here, to here, and now you have a massive skill set. Well,
now I've got 30 people working for me. Okay. Right. Yep. I got the electricians, the plumbers, I got the boiler room, I got the whole thing.
Wow. Wow.
And that worked out really well, and we all got along, but nobody fought with anybody because it was a family.
That's beautiful.
You know?
That is beautiful. Now, how long did you work there?
I worked there until they told me I was done.
Oh, okay. Do I dare ask why?
Until they told me I was done.
Uh-huh. And when was that?
Well, the place had changed hands 2 or 3 times. We got to back up just here. And it was Rockwell International and North American Rockwell, and they just kept changing, and the higher up the thing got, the worse the mill got. And we was going to build another new mill, what we call Big Blue. If you drove down in there now, the building's still there, but it caught fire and pretty much of a mess. Well, my guys installed the equipment in the mill and got it running. We had an 8-foot head saw with a 6-foot resaw, and all the equipment were with it. So they hired this outfit out of Mass to come up and build the buildings, and they did. Then the machinery came, right? Tons of machinery. It's a wooden floor, sitting on 2x10s. We got this 10-ton gosh darn machine that we've got to push across the floor and set up. And the wheel's 8 foot in diameter, 16 inches wide. It probably weighs 3 ton or more, right? It's got to go up and come down onto that machine. The roof's on the building. Building's finished. We can't do nothing. So we had a plan. We got together. And we ramped from outdoors all the way through the mill, came up on a platform and rolled this damn wheel up that platform over there and set it into the cradle where it went. If that had tipped over, there'd have been no floor and probably been none of us.
I was just going to say.
You know,
yeah.
we had ropes on that thing and pulley blocks and everything you could think of. Wow. I mean, all the stupid things they could have done. Wow. Then came the switchgear. The switchgear was almost 8 foot in height and about 9 foot square. Goes down cellar. We didn't have no hole, right? So we had to cut a hole in the floor.
Wow.
We cut a humongous hole in the floor. That took days to get that in there, get it blocked up and jack it down. When we got all done, we had 3 inches of clearance to push that thing all the way across the mill and put it over where it belonged.
Lucky. Lucky.
We done that. We had, of course, we had electric motors, all kinds of stuff that we had to put down. Luckily, we had the hole. Once we got started, we needed it. So everything went down the hole. Then the air compressor came. That went downstairs too. Humongous, gosh darn thing. We done it, got it all up done, and I sawed the first board that went out of that mill.
It's got your name on it. It's got your name on it. Oh my gosh! Oh my gosh!
It was one hell of a challenge.
Wow.
But it was good because I learned. I learned how to do electrical stuff. I learned how to do plumbing stuff.
That's right. That's what I meant by a hustler. So maybe that's a wrong word, but you're always learning something, and it ends up that after this position, you end up being your own mechanic.
Yes.
And so was that a automotive garage?
Yes, automotive garage.
And where was it located?
At my house. Yeah.
So this is in
I
Holderness?
could see the problem coming, so I built a garage. Right? You could see what was going on. If a guy from Hopedale showed up on a Thursday, a salaried person left. If he showed up on a Friday, an hourly person left.
This is at BB River.
This is at BB River. And you could see it coming because it just kept happening and kept happening.
Wow.
And it kept getting worse and worse. And when they let the guy go that was taking care of the lawns and the other stuff, I had to take that over, and I didn't have any extra help. So we'd all be out there running lawnmowers or whatever we could to try to make the place look decent, you know. And it went downhill fast.
So you become a mechanic over there for how many years? A couple of decades?
20 years.
A couple of decades. Yep. And then you have this other position, something like a fire chief?
Yeah, well, that came along. In the meantime, I picked up, I was doing a half job for the town for a couple of days a week. And it was giving about the building permits, taking care of the septic systems,
There we go.
all the stuff that came with the plans and everything. And so we was taking care of all of that stuff. And so I got together with the guys at the fire department. I had been in the fire department since '64. That was another little thing that I'd done on the side. And so I came up with a plan that I could do that job and the fire chief's job as a whole. So we went to town meeting with it. It took a little while. One of the guys didn't like it, and he was going to kill that. So we went to town meeting, and it came up right in the middle of just getting ready to talk about it, because we got toned out for structure fire.
You have to say that a little more clear so the audience
We
can
got
hear you.
toned out to a structure fire. So this guy jumps up and says, well, we'll have to table this, he says, because they're going to go. And I said, oh, no, I'm not. I'm staying right here. And we voted for it.
And it went through.
It went through.
It went through.
And so for, I don't know, 10, 12 years, I was full-time fire chief, and I'd done all the building permits, took care of all the septic going in. Anything that was going on with the town, doing building or whatever, I was involved in.
Wow.
And the fire chief needs to know this, because if you're doing something and this planning board over here is doing something, or somebody's doing something, they don't think about the things that you're supposed to have in here to take care of what's going on. And it worked out really good.
Your years as the fire chief in Holderness, is there a story that there's obviously must be a really good feeling when you can save someone's life, but
Oh, yeah.
or save a house. Is there a sad time during this?
Oh, yes, yeah. There's a lot of sad times.
Any that stand out?
Well,
And not necessarily
in
names?
the early 80s, because we belonged to this mutual aid pack, and Plymouth was part of that. When my daughter first joined in the early 80s, every town we went to had somebody in the building. There was people in Plymouth here that was in the buildings up on the back streets. It was a tough thing, but you get over it. You go to the next job and you do something else.
Was it full-time at that time, or were we volunteers?
No, we were still volunteers.
Still volunteers then?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Wow. Wow. I'm trying to think. 1, 2, 3, 4. You had shared with me, let's see, with the children, there was a 1920 Maximum fire truck.
Yes.
It was taken out of storage, and it was your grandfather's job to care for it.
Yes.
Did I write that
I have the
correctly?
data with me.
Yeah. Want to show?
I brought some pictures and stuff along with me. You said about some pictures. And now this is actually out of the Plymouth record.
Right.
And I just kind of pieced it together.
And show the audience, you and I, and show the audience. Let's
Yeah.
see if it, yeah. And the date on it, does it share the date? It does.
Yes.
March 26, 1988.
Yes.
3 generations of the Mardin family have fought fires. Can you share a little bit about that?
Yes.
Please.
Yeah. My grandfather in the early years, I said 29. My grandfather worked at the fire station, and he was what they called the station manager. And he lived right there. So when the fire bells went off, the engines were started by him. And generally he drove the Maxim. Now he was a foot shorter than I am.
You should stand up. I'm
Yeah,
kidding.
I'm
I'm kidding.
But he was able to retrofit the truck so that he could drive it. And it was an open cab, 1929, which is, it's not in service, but it's in the fire station right now in Plymouth. They're trying to get monies up to retrofit the thing up a little bit. And so he was there. My father, when he was young, joined the Plymouth Fire Department. And there's his badge.
Oh, neat, neat. Plymouth Fire Department. It's got a picture of a truck in the center. Can you see it? My hands.
Yeah,
Can't.
that was. I didn't know whether you wanted that for your artifacts or not.
That's neat to show the audience. Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah, nice, nice.
So, anyways, he joined, and they had 2 Ford trucks. One was a ladder, and one was a pumper truck. 35, 36, somewhere in that era. And so I don't know how long he actually stayed there, because then he had started his own business with a sawmill and moved to Campton, because my grandfather had bought a section of land up there on the flats, we call it, on 175. And my father built a house, my grandfather built a house up there. And
Nice.
so we all growed up there.
So you have your father, grandfather, and you.
Yes.
And then Elle comes along, Eleanor.
And then Eleanor comes along. So that's 4 generations.
4
I've been
generations.
in the fire department.
Right. And share with the
It's
audience.
in the 5th generation now, because my other daughter's 2 boys are in.
Wow, that's so neat. That is just so neat. So Eleanor's position is?
He's fire chief. And it's no longer a full-time position, because she'd already worked. She used to work for me in the garage. She went into the service as a diesel mechanic on board ship. So after her 4 years was up, she was on the USS Simon Lake. It was a subtender. And so she came to work for me because not much going on out there. So, and she liked dubbing out that stuff. So she worked for me for, I don't know, maybe 10 years, I can't remember now.
She picked up your genes, mechanical genes?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, we done all kinds of auto repairs. We built antique cars.
Oh, talk to me about that. You built them or did you restore them?
Well, we restored them is what we done. I don't know how it happened. We got into it, what we did. And every winter, in along about September, they'd bring us a Model A that needed to be done over.
And who brought that in?
Well, whomever owned them. And so we'd strip it all down, sandblast what we could, pack it away, and during the course of the winter, if we had a slow day, which we did have, because lots you get a stormy day, they wouldn't come to the garage, we'd work on the Model A. So we had a bay area that was just for Model A's. And I guess we turned out more than a dozen Model A's. And both of my daughters have 28 Roadster pickups. And I got a garage full of them. So.
Pickers is going to come to your door. I can tell they're going to come.
But we had fun doing it.
Oh, that's neat.
And it wasn't a nasty job or anything. It was, when the thing drove off, it was something accomplished. But we done everything right there. We done the motor job, they done the repair, done the paint job, done everything right there. I didn't send anything out to be repaired.
Interesting, interesting. Think of all the things that you've done, all the occupations you've been in. They were all satisfying? You enjoyed them?
Yes.
Yeah, very fortunate. You're very fortunate.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's great.
Yeah.
That's
I did.
Okay, let's see. Oh, you have a story. I was some of the notes I took when we met before. While going to a fire in Waterville Valley, one of your colleagues, I think the fire truck flipped over.
Oh yeah, that was a bad thing.
Yeah.
That was September. Can't remember the day right off the top of my head, but yeah, we flipped it over right down to the bottom of 175 and 3, right into the ditch.
Was he okay?
No, the guy driving the pickup truck was deceased.
Wow.
The driver of the truck was okay, and my son-in-law was okay. He was in the truck.
Wow.
But it was unavoidable.
Yeah. Those are the sad times.
Yeah,
those are the sad
times.
times. Yeah, that's what I meant. There's so many satisfying days that you have when you help other people in your community, and then you have something like that, and it makes you think.
Yeah.
Yeah, it takes you back a little bit.
Yeah, no, that wasn't no good at all.
Yeah. Well,
No.
I would agree with you on that one. That's for sure. I'm thinking of you and the amount of time that you spent in this community. And as you walk up, let's go to Holderness. Does not have the town main street like Plymouth. So I'm going to put you into Plymouth for a second. Walk up the main street of Plymouth. What do you remember? What do you remember?
Well, I remember there was a lot of stuff gone.
Oh, you mean the businesses are gone?
All the businesses are gone.
There we
Yeah.
go. Sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think that's what.
Well, you start down on the low end, you had Ezra Kennison's place.
Wow. You're in South Main Street now.
South Main Street,
Thanks.
yeah.
Yep.
You had Charlie Durgan's gas station.
Charlie Durgan's gas
Yeah,
station.
and there was several different people in and out of there, you know. And then you come along and then, I don't know.
Did you have the Plymouth Inn at that time?
The Plymouth Inn was,
Still
yeah,
there?
that was there, yeah.
Was the theater there?
Yes. Yeah, the theater was there. It's been there a long time.
It has.
Yeah.
Matt Keniston, we can remember. Walking
Yeah,
up and down
yeah,
the
well-
aisles. If you made too much noise during the movie, he would let you know.
Yeah.
Yep. Yeah. Okay. I just think walking the main street every once in a while brings back memories, or sitting in the common it brings back memories for some
Oh,
of
it does,
us.
yeah. There's a lot of things, you know, the Ford garage used to be where the haircutter place is, and
Interesting. Okay. If there was a favorite place, let's see, did you have a hangout when you were in high school?
once in a while I go to York's drugstore.
Here we go. We have a
There
lot
was a
of-
girl working down there.
Boy, they pull you, don't they? Well, we had a lot of drugstores then. Someone just walked
Yes.
into the Historical Society and said, "Can you tell me what this is?" And it was easy for me, thank goodness.
Yeah.
And it was Tufts pharmacy, and that was one of our pharmacies, but we had Yorks, and we had Geyers, and we had Macrillises. We had quite a few at the time.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
And they were very close to one another, Geyers and Farleys.
Yeah.
And Yorks tied
Yeah.
in to that little triad there. Yeah,
Yeah.
interesting.
What was Ethel's last name?
Ethel.
She used to work at York's. She
Oh.
was the pharmacist.
I can't
She
do
kind
that.
of, she had, I don't know if it was Alzheimer's or what.
Oh, because her hands shook a little bit?
Yeah, she all shook. And she had something, but she was the pharmacist there.
She
Ethel, I
might
can't
have,
remember the
had
last name.
Parkinson's if her hands were shaking a little bit.
Yeah.
I didn't pick up anything from the pharmacy there, so I don't know. I can tell you how much the Sundays
Yeah.
were at Geyers or
Yeah,
Farley's.
and then another guy that worked there was Kennedy. He come from Holden.
Absolutely, he ended up holding it.
Yeah.
Yeah, that is kind of neat. Any other pictures you'd like to share?
I brought some pictures along.
Oh, nice. So cool. And this is out in front of whose building? Can you tell me where that is?
Yeah, that's Main Street, Ashland.
Okay, this is in Ashland. And what type of car, please?
That's a 26 Model T Ford.
Say it slower. 26.
26 Model T Ford
Model
Phaeton.
T Ford. All right, and who's riding it?
I'm driving it.
You're driving it. Is there somebody there in the back? No,
No,
nobody's.
there isn't.
Okay,
No,
there
I'm
is
there
not.
alone. I don't know
And this
why.
is in Ashland. Very nice.
And I'm not quite sure whether that's my retirement or not.
Oh,
I think it is.
that is so neat. That is
That's
so
myself
neat.
and my daughter Eleanor.
This is Eleanor's picture and Dad right beside them, and it might be your retirement. That's beautiful.
Yeah.
You have some pretty mechanically inclined abilities, mechanics,
Yes.
but you also have another skill that you're going to share with us today. Folks, I think we have a little bit of a surprise. We're continuing on with our interview with Dick, and what we would like to share with you now, you know he's a mechanic, he's well versed with his hands, and yet he also has a flair for music. And so I'd like to introduce him again, and he has a fiddle with him, and he's going to play us a tune. And I'm pretty impressed, well, of course I'm impressed, because I wouldn't know what I was doing, is he can build these, he can repair them. So I'm going to just zip my lips, and you're going to play us a tune.
All right. This this is a tune that you would hear in Vermont, New Hampshire, and Maine. It's called Maple Sugar. But it's not the maple sugar season, but it's close.
I'm your audience.
How was that?
That was fun. That was fun. And that's called maple sugar?
That's called Maple Sugar.
Well, that's appropriate for our area. That's for Downshore.
Yes.
I enjoyed it. Matter of fact, I enjoyed it a lot.
Thank you.
Thank you for doing that for the audience. Can you tell us a little bit when you started how did you learn this craft?
Well, I bought a broken fiddle at a flea market for $10. And I'd always fooled around with the guitar and played the guitar a little bit, but I never really got into it until I retired. And one of the girls that I worked for, her father had passed on, and he played fiddle when he was in the Army. No, when he was in the Marines. Well, nobody local in our area knew that he played the fiddle because he never played it much when he came home. She wanted me to play at his funeral. Wow. 2 songs. And so I used his fiddle. I didn't have one that was up and running. So I did it, and there was no mice left anywhere when I got done. But it wasn't good. It was okay, but I thought, if I'm going to play that, I got to learn to play it. And I cannot read music, so everything I do is by ear. And if I hear a song, sometimes I can pick up on it, or sometimes I can't, depends on what it is. So I started dubbing with him, and one of the guys that worked at the mill, I bought a broken fiddle. Well, it wasn't broken. It was made in 1910 out of a guy in Worcester, Mass, and this was his number 9 fiddle. It says so right in it. And it's made out of bird's eye. It's beautiful. So I bought all of the pieces that went with it, and I finished up. I made the neck and assembled the whole thing. And that was my first fiddle, and then I just kept fooling with it. Then I started buying them, and between the ones I've made, I have an 8-string, I have a 5-string, I've got several 4-strings. I've got 2 that will be finished in the spring. I right now have 65 fiddles hanging in my cellar.
If my eyes
it's like
grow.
A fever.
Oh my gosh, that's amazing. That's
I mean,
amazing.
and most of them are playable. I've gone through them. A lot of them are repairs. My daughters, if there's somewhere and there's an old fiddle and it looks like it could be fixed, I've got it.
I wanted to tap my hand, and then I saw my foot going.
Yeah.
You can't help it when fiddles are doing their thing.
No, I know.
That's
yeah,
beautiful.
yeah.
That's really beautiful. Well, I really want to thank you for bringing that in. It's a little out of what we do here, and I just thought it's
I know it is. But
it's part of who you are.
It's part of what I do.
Absolutely,
yes. Yeah.
absolutely. So one more time, I want to thank you. It takes time to pull together information and just your willingness to come in and share stories. Some of them are sad, and most of them are happy. That's for darn sure.
Yes.
So, folks, I want to thank you. This is the beginning of our 4th season, and I'm just delighted that we had Dick Mardin with us today to open it up. Hopefully over the next few months we can entice a few more people to say yes right now and not later. And as I do every time I'm on air, I'm always the broken record. You're taking pictures, and I see my daughter doing this as well when she was home last week. Please take the pictures and print them off and do some identification. If it's a special event that people are gathering, identify who the people are. Generations from now will really thank you. All of us have the story that we found a scrapbook and we don't know who the people are inside. So the picture here is great, but what I'm going to have Dick do on the other side of it is when this was taken, how old he was at the time, why people gathered and watched him playing the fiddle way back when. Do you know the date of this?
Yeah, that's about 8 years ago.
8 years
and
ago.
It was up in Vermont.
In Vermont.
Yes.
So I'm going to leave you. You can't see it. I don't know if Dick wants you to see this or not, but at 81 years old, this is Dick's picture when he was in high school.
Yeah.
So again,
I looked better then.
I'm not sure. This is neat. This is neat, but you're neat too.
Yeah.
So thank you very much for coming in today.
No, you're welcome.
People, I'll see you next time. Memories of Plymouth. It's always a joy. Actually, I'm blessed to have people that are willing to share their stories over time.